to the aviation sector, where a major shakeup is ongoing across ministries, departments and agencies, with directors of affected agencies coming under the hammer 24 hours after heads of agencies were removed. TVC News' Lara Folayan has more.
Heads of agencies under the Ministry of Aviation discovered at the close of work on Wednesday that they had been relieved of their duties. Their dismissal announcement, which introduced their substitutes, also emphasized that activities of the suspended Director General of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority would be investigated by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Less than 24 hours after that story broke, a press release from the Aviation Ministry made known that all directors of the affected agencies had also been dismissed. The shake-up in the aviation sector comes shortly after one of the carriers saw its wet leased aircraft prevented from operating after its Abuja-bound passengers were erroneously taken to Asaba. The development, which followed previous incidents, once again raised concerns about safety in the industry. The aviation minister held meetings with the heads of agencies in the wake of that incident and came up with certain measures which included better professionalism from operators alongside compensation of passengers when actions of the airlines violate consumer rights, amid several others.
Henceforth, all wet leases coming into Nigeria, you must have a Nigerian pilot seated at least on the jump seats. If it's not the two pilots, on the jump seats must be seated there with the foreign pilots.
The Nigerian aviation sector has had its fair share of challenges over time, with players grappling with forex unavailability, Jet A1 scarcity at a point which pushed up ticket prices to an all-time high. International airlines also had their funds trapped. Infrastructure limitations, regulatory issues, as well as financing are additional setbacks that have continually plagued the industry and are yet to be effectively tackled. The aviation minister hit the ground running upon resumption as he engaged in facility tours of the major airports to see areas of concern, while pledging to bring about the desired change.
I have told them that my mentality to some of these things is that, for example, most of those lifts that are obsolete, instead of fixing them, every 2 months they will bring a bill to fix them, and by the time you fix 3 times, you're already almost buying a new one. I told them, get rid of them.
The removal of the heads of agencies under the aviation ministry is a major reform in the industry, and all eyes are now on the new appointees to ensure that there's better aviation safety and that air passengers get better value for money, amongst other benefits. Lara Folayan, TVC News, Abuja.
Joining us for more on this is an aviation publisher and a researcher, Godi Ike. Well, some have actually applauded the presidency for the shakeup in the aviation sector. Do you agree the shakeup was necessary?
Yes, I do agree. In the first place, it was abnormal for the Buhari administration to make those appointments barely 1 week to the end of their tenure. It didn't make sense at all, and it wasn't fair to whoever was going to become the president. Whoever it was, or at least today we know is President Bola Tinubu, that is now the president. That decision at that time to make that appointment was not fair to him. He needs to take responsibility for the success or failure of the aviation sector, and therefore having one administration impose, officials on him was very unfair. So he did exactly what I would have done if I had been in his shoes. I would do exactly what he's done.
All right. Now that new leaders are there, what are the agenda you would say need to be set for them? Some have spoken about cost of tickets and customers' rights, among others. Are there things that can actually be fixed in the immediate term?
If we are serious, we can. The point, from my experience attending at least the last 2 conferences organized by FAN, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, as one of the participants, and As a matter of fact, I was one of the panelists in those last two conferences, and I made it clear in those two conferences that the aviation sector, requires that we tap the impact that they can give to the economy of this nation, and the way to do it is to look at the innovations that those ahead of us have put in place. And I made some recommendations. I remember a particular time when I made a recommendation that we should engage in cross-subsidization scheme and interconnectivity scheme in order to have the aviation sector bubbling. But it would appear that some of the airline chief executives who do not understand really what aviation is all about and what kind of positive impact that they can make to the economy of the nation misunderstood the issues and were making trouble and complaining bitterly about some of the recommendations.
So we need impact, right, Mr. Ike?
Yes, we need impact. The aviation sector at the moment is not making the impact required of it in Nigeria.
Well, that's the much we'll be able to take at this time. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Aviation publisher and researcher Godi Ike. Thanks again.
All right. Welcome.
Other matters. For Nigeria to achieve